Hi, my name is Tristan, and welcome to my review of the Super Audio Kart 2 sample library. If you're in the market for a library that covers the history of video games from the 1970s all the way up to the early 2000s, this might be the library for you. Super Audio Kart 2 is a massive sample library focused on capturing the sound of 16 video game consoles, including the Atari 2600, the Poki Sound Chip, the Commodore 64, the MSX, the NES, the Sega Master System, an Amiga 500 at 3 different sample rates, the Adlib Sound Synthesizer card, Aegis Sonics, the Ultimate Sound Tracker, however, this is unfortunately not the ST01 sample set, Nintendo Game Boy, the Famicom VRC6 and VRC7 expansion chips, the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 1, the N64, and the Game Boy Advance. In addition to all of that, both the Wingroove and the Sample Cell 2 sample libraries were officially licensed for use. If you own Super Audio Kart 1, the sound content from that library is here as well, minus the presets, but it has been confirmed that those are coming in a future update. In addition, new sound content has been added for the Super Nintendo, resulting in parity between it, the GBA, the PS1, and the N64. Super Audio Kart 2 is $199 on its own, however, if you own the first Super Audio Kart, Gameverb, which is Impact Soundworks' 90s console reverb, or Insidious, which is a reactor instrument that emulates the C64's SID chip, you get a discount. Be sure to check your personalized deals page. If you pick it up, you'll need 20 gigabytes of hard drive space as well as the latest version of Contact 7 or newer. I also recommend at least 16 gigabytes of RAM so you can load the library without issues. You will also need to download the Pulse downloader, which requires an account. This is like Steam, but for music stuff. It is required in order to download the library. Load times can and will vary from person to person and DAW to DAW. Upon loading Contact, you'll be greeted with 3 NKI files, 1 single layer patch that includes all the samples, and 2 quad layer patches separated by console and computers. Across all those systems, you get quite a large sound selection, including pianos, basses, strings, brass, woodwinds, drums and percussion, guitars, a boatload of synths, some of the best organ and choir sounds that put more expensive libraries to shame, some more uncommon sounds that you might not expect but are really great to have, and even some near one-to-one recreations of sounds from video games. And much, much more. Although, some exotic samples that you'd expect from games like Earthbound and Silent Hill are unfortunately absent. In addition, sound designers may find the lack of a truly custom wavetable on the Game Boy and the limited custom wavetables they include severely lacking. All of the sounds can be accessed by clicking on the console's image or the name of the preset. And once you click on it, you'll find a sample browser that is vastly improved over Super Audio Kart 1's. You can narrow sounds down by console, the sound category, sound generation source, and sample tags. However, there do appear to be some samples that are miscategorized. There is no way to search for samples outright, although that might just be a limitation of Contact. Once you've selected a sound you want, you can shape it further by using the velocity-sensitive ADSR envelopes for volume, pitch, and the multi-mode filter. I consider a limiter a must when it comes to dialing in the filter resonance because it can get loud on certain modes. It's so loud that Reaper will auto-disable the track. You can also choose where the sample playback starts and tune the sample if you desire. This is handy because there are some samples that are severely out of tune, although due to the nature of the library, this might be intentional. There's also an arpeggiator/sequencer that allows you to sequence a layer's volume, pan, length, pitch when in sequencer mode, and one modulatable parameter of your choosing. In addition, the 8-bit consoles can have their wave shapes sequenced. With the Famicom, you can get some really nice Korg WaveStation-esque patterns going. Following this, there's a multi-effects rack where you can apply up to 8 of the over 50 included effects to each layer, and to one insert and one send track, which I cannot figure out the routing for. In addition, each layer can bypass the master altogether and instead route directly into one of Contact's own mixer tracks. This is useful if you want to mix each layer on its own without having to load up multiple Contact instances. There's also a rather intuitive mod matrix named Modtrix. In order to use it, you pick a modulator, be that a standard envelope or LFO, something far more exotic like a key switch, a macro knob, or one of the XY pad controls, select a parameter for it to modulate, and there you go. While this might seem primitive compared to the drag and drop nature of plugins like Serum or Faceplant, Keep in mind this is running inside of Contact. I really enjoy this library despite its shortcomings and quirks. Like I said before, I would like to see some more weird sounds for the SNES and PS1, again like Earthbound and Silent Hill, as well as there are some sounds mislabeled. I am working on my own game called Reap What You Sow, and it needs some more crunchy retro samples, and this is perfect for that. You can watch the devlogs here, after you finish this video, of course. Future seeing the Dreamcast or Saturn in the console roster would be very nice, but they aren't strictly necessary for features of an update. What could be cool is to see the raw recreation samples in their own console, like Sample Cell 2 is. The website describes it as a fantasy rompler, and I would like to use said rompler, please. To show off what the library can do, in addition to the intro track, I've written a few more tracks to give you a better idea of the new sounds. Enjoy! should be able to find all of these on Bandcamp after this review goes live. If that sounded good to you, I have a link in the description where you can pick the library up. Thank you so much to my YouTube members, and if you like what I do, you want to see more reviews like this, or just want to support me, there is a link to join it in the description and by the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon that mirrors the same rewards if you prefer to support me that way. And if you enjoyed the music in this video, I recently uploaded a remix of Black Knight from Deltarune that you might like. You can find it here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!